I have given you guys the perspective of the migrants and the New Yorkers, and now I would like to give you my perspective on the New York City migrant crisis. I have been going to New York City and covering this topic for the past almost 3 months now, and every single time I go, it is a little bit different. The first time, migrants were freezing in the streets, however they were receiving shelter. And now in my recent video, these migrants are going to be getting kicked out of the shelters in the next 30 days. It's gonna be absolutely chaotic, and it has no signs of getting any better in New York City. In New York City over the past year, they have received 184,000 migrants, upwards to 200,000 migrants. And, you know, they've actually done a pretty decent job when you think about what has happened to them as far as getting shelter for these migrants. However, the price of them getting shelter has came at yours and mine and the whole entire country's pockets. They're using United States tax dollars to fund people that came into the country illegally. It would be a whole different story if these people came in legally. However, they are being rewarded for breaking into the country and entering illegally. They're getting free rent, free amenities, free food, free insurance, free lawyers, and now they're getting free flights to be moved outside of New York City to anywhere they desire inside the United States. And the problem is that they're rewarding people for literally breaking the law. What New York City was doing is they let these migrants apply for shelter. They'd give them 30 days, upwards of 60 days, and then they'd have to reapply. That's for all the single people that are migrants. However, the families have been able to stay in hotels like the Roosevelt, the Watson, or the Row for upwards of 7 months, I've heard. Upwards to 8 months, 6 months. They're giving them so much free rent, so much money is going towards these migrants that literally each day for a migrant family it is costing New York City $400 per family, and every single day New York City is spending over $12 million funding this migrant crisis that the country and the people inside the government have created themselves. They're letting people come in through the border, and then from the border they are sending them to these sanctuary cities. Originally, New York City was created a sanctuary city back in, I believe, the 1990s, around there, to house all the people, like all the homeless people, a few migrants, upwards to 2,500 migrants. However, they never expected to receive 184,000 migrants, and so now they have to figure out how to house 184,000 migrants. They have literally built a whole entire shelter on an island, on Randall Island. They have made other places in the Queens, up in the Bronx, in Brooklyn. They've made shelters up there. They have converted literally 5-star hotels into shelters for these migrants. And the Roosevelt Hotel, obviously, was one of the nicest hotels in New York City, is now a shelter for thousands of migrants. If you walk by the Roosevelt Hotel, you can literally see the migrants up inside these rooms with little kids looking outside of the windows with their faces plastered onto the windows, looking out in the city at all the people. I mean, it's absolutely insane what is happening. And I used to kind of bash on Mayor Adams, or like personally I would think, wow, like what is he doing all this? But actually it's been, now that I think about it more, it's not really his fault what's happened, because these laws were put in before he became mayor. And he's actually done a pretty decent job of figuring out how to handle these migrants for this short span of receiving all these people. Literally, people would just get dropped off at the Port Authority, and then they would get taken to shelters. And he was the person that was responsible for taking care of all these people. So it's actually kind of impressive what he's been able to do. A lot of people might say like, wow, he's like absolutely destroyed New York City. However, those laws were put in before he became mayor, and I believe he's trying his best for the New York City people. However, it's just absolute chaos. I can't even imagine what he's had to go through to try to figure all this out, and like it sounds absolutely horrible. When I was in New York City, after receiving the news that they were going to be kicking migrants out after 30 days, I went to the biggest male shelter where all the single-age men are at, and I asked them, well, what are you guys going to do once your time's up? And they said, well, we're going to be out in the streets. We literally can't do anything. Crime is going to go through the roof. We are going to have to start stealing. We're going to have to start robbing because we're here and we don't have work permits. It makes no sense why they let us into the country without giving us work permits. That was their complaint. We want to pay taxes. We want to do stuff right, but we can't do anything because we don't have work permits. Now, whether you actually believe that or not, that they came here to do right, I believe a lot of the men and a lot of the families came to do right and to chase the American dream. However, a lot of people now say that American dream does not exist because there's so many people, and the chaos that is going on politically in this country is absurd, as you guys all know. And these migrants, they think that they're going to be able to live the American dream and get the American dream one, by not even speaking English, the majority of them don't speak English. That is one thing I found extremely interesting, is they are all from Africa, the migrants. The majority of them are from Africa or from Central and South America. In Africa, in countries like Senegal, Mauritania, Guinea, they all speak French. It's extremely hard to find any migrant at these shelters that speaks English. Luckily, I speak Spanish. I can talk to the Latinos. The majority of the Latinos, they all speak Spanish, obviously, and very, very, very few of them speak English. And so they come to a country that primarily speaks English. It's our first language. And I would say maybe 5 to 10% of people inside the United States speak another language. However, the majority of us do not. I'm lucky enough to speak Spanish. However, the majority of people here in the United States do not speak Spanish. So they came to this country not speaking our language or not trying to learn English before. Maybe they did, but and they came to our country without knowing English before, and then they expect to be given jobs to serve people that speak English. It just doesn't make sense in my head what these migrants were thinking, unless they were really escaping problems inside their countries. And in countries like Venezuela, for instance, I've spoken with and I've experienced and I've lived with Venezuelans inside the country of Chile in South America for 2 years, and I heard their horror stories of what they have to go through, and it kind of blew my mind. For instance, they can work for 2 weeks and maybe have enough money to buy a carton of eggs and milk because of inflation. So that's absolutely wild. And so a lot of these people from Venezuela are really here to claim asylum. They're looking for a better life, and they literally can't survive in their own country. So they're coming here. However, there's a lot of people that I don't really understand, and it's not that I don't believe, but it's just like, it's hard to fathom what is going on in these other countries. I just can't believe there's not other options where these migrants can go that would be better for them. That is why I actually went to the country of El Salvador in Central America about a month ago, to understand, like, oh wow, this, like, what they are doing to make their country so good in El Salvador, and trying to understand, like, why aren't more migrants going to El Salvador and other countries that are better in Central America. Everyone thinks that here in the United States it's a dream life, dream world, and it makes sense because all these migrants and all these people see in Central and South America and in the other parts of the world, they see the Western lifestyle, they see what we do on the Western Hemisphere, they see Hollywood videos, they see Disney movies that are all shot here inside the United States, and they think, wow, like, that's where I need to go. That's where the life is, like, at its prime. And honestly, to be a United States citizen is a huge blessing, and I love living here in the United States. However, it's just super hard, especially if you don't speak English. And that's kind of like what I'm trying to get at, is like, these migrants, they aren't speaking English, and they're not going to be able to work here without work permits. So at the end of the day, they were all let into the country, and they all broke into the country illegally, and they expect to get work permits for doing something illegally. It doesn't really make sense why all these people were let into America without them being able to receive work permits. Now, they did break in here illegally, and they did come into the country illegally. The majority of them, they came through crossing the border in Texas, Arizona, and California. And with that being said, they broke the law coming into America. However, they are not getting treated like they broke the law. Instead, they're getting put inside of hotels and shelters where they get 3 meals a day. A lot of them get free phones, free clothes, they get free insurance, free flights, and now they're getting free lawyers for their asylum cases. However, they are not getting work permits, so they literally cannot work legally. So what do you think is going to happen when all these migrants get let out into the streets without work permits? They're going to have to figure out other ways to survive and other ways to make money. And if they can't make money and they want to eat because they are starving, what do you think they're going to do? They're obviously going to start stealing, they're going to start robbing, they're going to start causing chaos. One of the migrants told me that crime is going to see its highest peak inside of New York City with what is going on. And especially with them starting to release migrants into the streets the next 30 days, it's going to be chaotic in New York City. However, I will be covering what is going on, and I will be showing you guys what is happening, and I feel super grateful that you guys care about what I am doing to show you guys the truth about what is happening. And on this second channel right here that you're watching right now, make sure you subscribe, because here I will be posting exclusive interviews that I get with people, and I will be posting an exclusive interview with a migrant caseworker whistleblower in the following days. So stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much. I'm excited to read your comments. I'll be responding down below. Like this video, and I'll see you guys next video. Thank you so much.